Meeting. If everybody will stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're now gonna go into the oath of office for two of our members.
Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, state your name,
I, Brian Hilberg,
I, Ronald Ross,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
you too,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as board member of the Board of Education of Medina City School District, Medina County, Ohio.
And that I will faithfully and partially discharge my duties as board member of the Board of Education of Medina City School District, Medina County, Ohio.
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as board member of the Board of Education of Medina City School District, Medina County, Ohio,
To the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted.
To the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted.
to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted,
During my continuance in said office and until my successor is elected and qualified.
During my continuance in said office and until my successor is elected and qualified.
and during my continuance in said office and until my successor is elected and qualified.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Chambers. Roll call.
Mr. Hilberg. Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Ms. Pavlik.
Here.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to make a motion that we appoint Valerie Pavlik as president of the Medina City Schools Board of Education.
I'll second that motion.
First, you gotta ask if there are any other nominations.
Okay. I first have to ask, are there any other nominations?
I would move that we close nominations.
Thank you. Okay, now I will make a motion that we appoint Mrs. Valerie Pavlik to be the president of the Medina City School District Board of Education.
Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg. Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand. I, state your name,
I, Valerie Pavlik,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as President of the Board of Education of Medina City School District, Medina County, Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as President of the Board of Education of Medina City School District, Medina County, Ohio,
to the best of my abilities and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted,
to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted,
during my continuance in said office and until my successor is elected and qualified.
during my continuance in said office and until my successor is elected and qualified. I will open nominations for the office of Vice President.
I'll close them at this time. No? Oh. Thank you, Ms. Pavlik. I would like to nominate Mr. Robert Skidmore as the Vice President of the Medina City Schools Board of Education.
Any other nominations?
Any other nominations? Hearing none. Hearing none, close nominations. I'll make a motion to nominate Robert Skidmore as Vice President of the school board.
I will second that.
Okay, Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Present.
Thank you. Sure. Okay. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Robert Skidmore,
Solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as Vice President of the Board of Education of Medina City School District, Medina County, Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as Vice President of the Board of Education of Medina City School District, Medina County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability and in accordance with the law now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted,
to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted,
during my continuance in said office and until my successor is elected and qualified.
during my continuance in said office until my successor is elected and qualified. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to say a few words. I want to thank Ron, not only for this past year as president, but for all of your recent years serving on the Board of Education. Your commitment and dedication to the school district and the community is exemplary. Not only have you been generous with your time, but you've been generous with your monetary donations to the districts. You've funded a few initiatives that have helped to make our students better, from donating bikes for Bike to School Week to the essay contest winners. You go far and above the call of duty for our school board. Member President, I hope that I can follow in your shoes and keep the tradition going. Maybe not with the bikes, but I want to thank you for being such a great role model, again, not only for me, but for our students and for our community as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Pavlik. I wrote something down. I don't want to take up too much time, so I shortened it, and then I shortened it again, and then I shortened it again. So I want to thank 4 groups of people. And the first group of people are our staff. If I would have known then, I ran 4 campaigns. If I would have known in my first campaign what I know now, it's unbelievable. And I'm really, the commitment of our staff is just absolutely off the charts. And I'm so happy and proud to be a part of a staff that is just so dedicated to helping children. And I just want to thank you for that. And that starts with Aaron and Dave Chambers, Mr. Sable, Mr. Chambers, and all the way down to the last ranking member of our staff. And that's all of you in this room. So thank you for your expertise and your advice and giving us help in making all the decisions that we make. It's much, much, much appreciated. The second group of people I want to thank are our community for being engaged, for their input, and also their advice to us. And I want to thank them for their support for me, giving me another 4 years. Hopefully I can help, another 4 years. Hopefully I can continue our tradition of serving our kids in a great, great way. So thank you to our community. The third group of people I want to thank are my fellow board members. You all, I learned from, I had, Tom Cahallen, Doug Eastwood, Rob Skidmore, and Mrs. Parkhurst, all presidents before me, and I learned an awful lot from all of you. And I want to thank you, as Mrs. Pavlik said about me, I want to thank all of you for paving the way for my learning, and hopefully I can continue, picking your brains and continuing to be a better board member from your experience and expertise. And I also want to congratulate Mrs. Pavlik on being elected the president, and I wish you only the best, and I'm here to help you and Rob make this year another fantastic year. We had a great year, so thank you. And then the last group is my family, because I couldn't do this without their support, so thank you. And I also want to thank our media. I know Bob's here all the time, and you get a lot of information out to the community that helps us, so I want to make sure that I mention you and your accurate reporting. It's refreshing and helping us get the word out of all the good things that are going on in the school district, so thank you. That's it.
At this time, I'd like to invite Doug Eastwood up to the podium. I believe he has a few words that he would like to say.
Brian, could I ask you to come up? I know how much you like this kind of stuff, so I tried to be the informal part of the two of us today. I hope that works out. First, I want to say congratulations to a solid election. This is just going to be a short thing, but when there was a point in time when Dave Knight presented us all with a challenge and a token, and I am no Dave Knight. No, and I mean, he's an icon in Medina history. And we're thankful for him, and we're thankful for his continuation. But at one point, he talked about the challenge, the commitment, the teamwork, and kind of brought it all together with a baton. Familiar in athletic events, baton is a team effort. Everybody has to work together. I have for you an official OHSAA tournament baton. It's been held by our teams. It represents a lot of hard work, practice. Obviously, with the state tournament it was in, successes, but also challenges and failures. It goes with the territory. You're up for 4 more years, and I'm thankful that you're in that position. Thankful you took it. And I hope that you can keep that somewhere where every now and then you're going to wonder, what did I get into this for? And be encouraged that you're part of a fantastic team. And these people you're working with, the staff that they mentioned, the community that we're in. And that's not new to you. You're used to serving in that. But I wanted to give you something like that. And hopefully it'll serve you like the one I have served me. So, thank you.
Appreciate it.
At this time, I'd like to ask for any additions, removals, modifications to the agenda. Hearing none.
I
I'd like-
move we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Mr. Chambers.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Thank you.
The first item on the consent agenda is set the time, date, and place of regular meetings. It's recommended to the Board of Education that the board's regular as well as work session meetings be set at 6 o'clock per the attached dates for here in the Professional Development Center. 2 things I do want to point out in the dates is the August date is moved back 1 week, so it's not on the same week as the opening of school. And I also believe that there is not a July work session scheduled, which is what we've done or canceled in the past. The second item is compensation for board members. It is recommended that the Board of Education set their compensation at the maximum level provided for in the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Constitution. I think it's important every year to mention that the maximum rate for a board member is quite low, especially when you consider the amount of hours and even days that go into this job, this position. Board members are paid for formal board meetings, but their work extends way beyond these meetings. These meetings are actually a very small percentage, and I just want to take a moment as we're entering the new year to thank all of our board members for your commitment to our schools and to our community, because it's definitely not for the money. Number 3 is bond approval per Ohio Revised Code 3313.25. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the bond presented by Mr. Chambers as stated below. And his bond is in the amount of $500,000 for approval by the board. The approval bond shall be deposited with the president and a copy filed with the county auditor. The second bond approval, same Ohio Revised Code 3313.25. It's recommended that the Board of Education accept the bond presented by the Director of Business Affairs as stated below. The Director of Business Affairs shall present his bond in the amount of $25,000 for approval by the board. The approval bond shall be deposited with the president and a copy filed with the county auditor. We have several standing resolutions being recommended for approval tonight. It is recommended that the following standing resolutions be approved as printed. The first one is advances on tax settlements, authorization for the treasurer to secure advances from the auditor when funds are available and payable to the school district. The second one is investment of inactive funds, authorization for the treasurer to invest in inactive funds at the most productive interest rate whenever inactive funds are available. 3, board resolution authorizing the superintendent to hire staff between board meetings. And this is to authorize the superintendent during periods when this board is not in session to make offers of employment directly to candidates for either teaching or non-teaching positions on behalf of this board, subject to a subsequent vote of ratification by this board, provided, however, that upon ratification by this board, the employment shall be deemed effective as of the date and time of the employee's acceptance of the superintendent's offer. Nothing in this resolution shall require the Board of Education to employ or continue to employ an individual who has not provided a criminal records check satisfactory to the board or who has not satisfied any other prerequisites to employment created by law or board policy. The authorization provided by this resolution shall remain in effect until withdrawn by formal action of this board. 3B, board resolution authorizing the superintendent to accept resignations, to authorize the superintendent on behalf of this board to accept resignations which have been submitted by employees during times when this board is not in session, subject to ratification by the board, provided, however, that upon ratification by this board, such resignation shall be deemed effective as of the date and time of the superintendent's acceptance. The authorization provided by this resolution shall remain in effect until withdrawn by formal action of this board. Also to approve district purchasing agents, it is recommended that the board appoint the superintendent or designee and the treasurer as district purchasing agents. I do want to point out that all of these resolutions are part of our approved board policy and have been vetted through our normal committee process. It is a requirement of the Ohio Revised Code that these are reviewed and presented to the board on an annual basis for approval at the organizational meeting. Number 6, resolution for public records training. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution to appoint David Chambers, treasurer, as the Medina City Schools Board of Education designee to attend public records training pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 149.43E1 and Ohio Revised Code 109.43. Number 7 is mileage rate reimbursement for 2020. It is recommended the board establish the district mileage rate reimbursement for 2020 to be the current IRS mileage rate on the date of travel. And this is the same practice that has historically been done in the district. Number 8, employment of legal counsel. It is recommended that the Board of Education employ the following firms as their legal counsel to the board on an as-needed basis. Bricker and Eckler, Christopher Ernst, Critchfield and Johnson, Enos Britton, Scott Scriven and Wohoff, Smith Peters Khalil, Squire, Sanders and Dempsey, Williams and Batchelder, Johnson, Bucks, and Bramley. I do want to point out that that doesn't mean we're necessarily going to utilize services from all of these legal entities. It simply means that the board is authorized for them to be utilized in the event that they're needed. And many of these different legal agencies do have varying specialties that we'll utilize them for if needed throughout the course of a school year. Number 9 is OSBA membership. It is suggested that the board renew membership in the Ohio School Boards Association for 2020. And associated with item number 9 is 10. It is recommended that the Board of Education select Valerie Pavlik to serve as the delegate and Robert Skidmore to serve as the alternate representing the board at the 2020 OSBA annual business meeting. And historically, these representatives for OSBA have been the board president and vice president.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda item. These items, thank you.
I'll second that.
Are there any changes or discussion?
I did just want to note that for the record, that the compensation for board members is $125 per meeting. That is the maximum amount allowed per the Ohio Revised Code, and that is for regular board meetings, as well as any appointees to the Career Center would also receive that as a maximum amount per meeting. Thank you.
Hearing no changes, Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have 6 district superintendent committees that I would ask for appointment of board members, which I'll read through here in a moment. Just for a little information for the public, these committees do regularly meet, typically on a monthly basis. These boards are another opportunity for us to expand the vetting of information even prior to it coming to the board, so we can involve staff as well as community members in the decision-making process. So you'll see that each one of these committees surrounds a topic that's vital to the operations of the school district. The first committee is Curriculum and Instruction. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Rebecca Parkhurst and Valerie Pavlik to serve as representatives of the board on the Medina City Schools Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Number 2 is the Facilities Committee. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Valerie Pavlik and Robert Skidmore to serve as representatives of the board on the Medina City Schools Facility Committee. Number 3 is our Finance Committee. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Ronald Ross and Brian Hilberg to serve as representatives of the board on the Medina City Schools Finance Committee. Our 4th committee is Policy. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Robert Skidmore and Rebecca Parkhurst to serve as representatives of the board on the Medina City Schools Board Policy Committee. The final committee is the Business Advisory Committee. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Valerie Pavlik and Rebecca Parkhurst to serve as representatives of the board on the Medina City Schools Business Advisory Committee. This final committee of the superintendent, I do want to point out, is a state ODE mandated committee. Valerie and Becky have been serving on this committee for the last year or two. This is a committee that was required to be put in place by state legislation approximately 3 years ago. I do want to point out that we do run our own district business advisory committee. Many districts across the state are involved on a county level, and we saw it important in the development of this committee to really work with our local businesses that directly support Medina City Schools. Thus why we have our own district committee. And the last, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the regularly scheduled monthly meeting dates for the Curriculum and Instruction, Finance, Facilities, and Policy committees. All of these dates and times for these meetings are posted on our website, as well as the minutes following the meetings.
I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the superintendent committee appointments.
I'll make a motion that the board accept the superintendent committee appointments.
I'll second that.
Are there any changes or discussion? Mr. Sable, I'd just like to ask one question. The community members, if they wanted to attend, say, a facilities committee meeting or a finance committee meeting, is it open to the community members?
They are publicly open meetings, and that's why we post the times and the dates, so anybody from the public is welcome to come and observe that meeting. If anybody's interested in being a member on any of those committees, we're always looking for some new helping hands and smiling faces, and I would just ask you to just shoot me an email, reach out to me, and we'll get you involved.
Thank you. Okay, hearing no changes, Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next item is appointment for the Medina County Career Center. These appointments are for 3-year terms, so this is the first time we have done this in 3 years. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Robert Skidmore and Brian Hilberg to serve as representatives of the Medina City Schools to the Board of Medina County Career Center effective 2020 through 2022.
I'd like to ask for a motion for the Medina County Career Center appointments.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Medina County Career Center appointments as stated.
I'll second.
Any changes or discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next appointments are for city and community representation. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint the Assistant Superintendent and the Director of Business Affairs to serve as the delegates representing the Medina City Schools at the Medina Community Recreation Center. Board Member Ronald Ross will serve as the ex officio committee member. I do want to point out that we are in the process of having discussion regarding appointments to not just this committee, but also the Access Committee as well for the future. So I anticipate, and we've had discussion in the past, I anticipate that that discussion will continue to move forward. One of the ideas that we're talking about right now is appointing school representatives as ex officio and recruiting potential community members to serve as the actual members. But we need to have more discussion with the city and amongst the board before we move that direction.
I'd like to ask for a motion for the city and community representation.
I'll make a motion that we approve the city and the community committee representation as stated.
I'll second.
And the final committee for approval, oh, I'm sorry.
Any changes or discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now the final committee for board appointment this evening, and I'm not going to restate what I already said in the previous one, but it's the Access Committee. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint the Director of Community Relations and the Director of Technology to serve as representatives of the Medina City Schools on the Advisory Commission on Communication Enhancement Support Services. Board Member Robert Skidmore will serve as the ex officio committee member. Just to let the community know what this committee is, it's a committee in place per city policy, and it's related to the community access television station, which we are on right now and which is housed here on district property.
I'd like to ask for a motion for the city and community committee representation for the Access Committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointments for the, again, city and community committee representation for the Advisory Commission on Communication Enhancement Support Services.
I'll second.
Any changes or discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Thank you.
And the last item on the organizational agenda is district committee representation. And this is listed as superintendent's discussion items because these do not require a vote. These are not committees of the superintendent, nor are they committees of the board. These are all capacities that we're asking the board to participate in throughout the school year. Many of these are either for community engagement or they're a result of language within our negotiated agreements. I also want to point out here that this past year, for many of these committees, we've had 2 board members attending. That's not necessary. Of course, both board members are welcome to attend, but the way we set it up last year is that one board member is on that committee and the other board member is an alternate. Insurance Committee is Valerie Pavlik and Ronald Ross as the alternative. Medina City Schools Foundation is Rebecca Parkhurst and Valerie Pavlik as the alternate. Partnership Council is Ronald Ross and Valerie Pavlik as the alternate. And the Performing Arts Center Committee is Ronald Ross and Rebecca Parkhurst as the alternate. Any questions or discussions about any of those committee appointments?
Actually, I would like to invite Mr. Hilberg to see if he would have any interest in taking my position on any of these or any other. To let you know, these typically meet quarterly. The person that we have designated first is the one who's to attend. The alternate would only attend, as Mr. Sable said, in the event that the first person was unable to attend. The Insurance Committee meets after school, I believe, around 4 o'clock. The foundation meets in the morning, around 9:30. Partnership Council meets in the evening, and I'm not sure when the PAC Committee meets during the day. Oh, around 4. Thank you, after school as well, if that is helpful for scheduling.
Can I consult with my family first?
Actually, you can, because these don't need to be board approved. So if you do want to talk to your family, you can get back to follow up with us and we can make adjustments. I do want to say, if you're interested in the Insurance Committee, we do have a meeting coming up Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the Media Center here at the high school.
It's certainly a possibility. I might want to discuss what some of these are. A couple of them I don't know what they are and what's entailed, so I'll give you an answer afterwards.
And just to throw out there is thinking at the Career Center, we've added a couple committees over the past year. So there's a policy committee out there and a finance committee at the Career Center, as well as attending some events out there as well. So just keep that. I'm not discouraging you from serving on more committees, but just keep that in mind.
I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn our organizational meeting.
I'll second.
Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Thank you.
For the longest meeting of the night?
Yes.